is this? Nobody's going to pay attention to this except Joy and Michele. We'll have to.
At least they'll see this joke.
When I was reading it the whole time, I was looking for that narwhal.
Oh.
I can't remember what page it's on, but it's in the museum, and there's this incidental little narwhal display in a little corner. And there's maybe 1,000 dots of color on it.
Occasionally when Michele and I would, occasionally when Michele and I would receive a page that would be so complex we wouldn't even want to think about starting it. It was like, then our mindset changed to oh yeah, well maybe we'll color each little individual dot.
I was laughing and this narwhal. I Google search narwhal and images. I was like, I'm gonna make it look like a narwhal.
So many pixels. So OCD. I don't think even the narwhal is. Can you even see those little pixels of color?
Yeah, you could kind of. It looks like there's some brown dots on it. But, if you zoomed up on it, it's like a photorealistic gradient of
It is not. It's totally an impressionistic, 3 colors.
That narwhal
there is
is
not
great.
a gradient. They do have spots on them.
Just for the record, this is the full page. The narwhal in question is about the size of my pinky fingernail.
Yeah, there's also some detail on the honeycomb and stuff.
Yes, very, very fancy. Very good. A+.
That's Michele.
Were you guys interested in science as kids? Did you have your own Professor Kowalski figure?
Oh gosh, not exactly per se. I was really interested in science. My dad was a science teacher, and I've always liked building stuff and tinkering with stuff. And I don't know, I feel like the Secret Science Alliance was building on a tradition of can-do kids adventure books that I always really love. That both of us really love. And anything where kids made stuff and did cool things. But I think that part of the reason why the science angle appealed to me so much was because I'm actually not that good at science. It seems almost magically nifty.
Yeah.
Which was, I didn't really realize that until I had gotten pretty deeply involved with the book.
The real world is more baffling than fantasy sometimes.
Yeah, it's definitely more complicated. I was wishing that I could just throw in some I don't know, dragons and vorpal swords or whatever. It's a lot easier.
Yeah, it was a pretty fine line to walk about
and then Hagen's a leprechaun who solves all their problems.
Well, there's the...
That's sort of Professor Kowalski, sort of that leprechaun.
Well, there's the Dexter's Lab level of mad science, where we thought that was a little bit beyond what we were aiming for.
Not that that's not good, but we wanted a realistic,
almost
realistic.
They make a flying machine, but it's made of wood and planks and.
Yeah, I wanted, because when I was a little kid, I think that most little kids are like this. I fully believed that I would be capable of building a flying machine or a tree house or a houseboat if I just got around to it. So we wanted to, but I knew that I couldn't fly to the moon. Do you know what I'm saying? So we wanted to make a book that was
The thing that's
that
probably
level
the biggest
of
stretch is
child
that
ambition.
smelling machine. That's probably the biggest.
Right.
And some of it is just glue bombs or something like that. That if a kid could figure out the right kinds of physics.
Drop a firecracker into a bottle of Elmer's glue. There you go.
Totally works. Don't try that at home. It's important. But the smelling machine, that was a tricky problem because in the plot the kids need to create a machine that both seems interesting to kids and semi-possible, but also that would theoretically, like a grown-up scientist, would steal. And we had heard an article on NPR about how smell detecting technology is actually extremely complex, and it's kind of in its infant stages right now. And it's used in like detecting poisons in mines and stuff. So, you know, who would have thunk it? So I needed to come up with an invention that was both kind of kid-friendly and also something that an adult might conceivably want.
It's at our fingertips.
Right,
We
right.
Not small
cusp.
vision yet.
Not quite.
Yeah. I think Greta is a really great character. I think she's my favorite.
Yeah.
Study after study shows that girls are naturally better equipped at boys in maths and hard sciences.
I agree.
The girls are socialized away from these subjects by the time they're in their early teens. Girls, there's a point where just performance and interest just rapidly plateaus and drops off. And it's great because she reinforces herself with a peer group, and that she can push herself with these friends to always be imaginative and do what she loves and do what she wants to do without the social pressure to give it up. That's not a question, I just think that's really cool. But on your villain, I think Dr. Stringer is also a great villain because the source of all his nastiness is his dried up creativity. He does some pretty rotten things because he's washed up. And it's like, I mean, what kind of adult really wants to steal an idea for an invention for a kid? That's so fabulous. It's so funny when you look at it as an adult reading it. But and do you think that's because he's an adult? Is there something about being an adult that dulls this natural creativity, or is he just a bad egg?
Well, I always, again, when I was a kid, I was really, really into the idea of kids' rights, which sounds kind of silly thinking about it, but I mean, saying it now when I've grown up, but I was really into it when I was little, the idea that kids didn't get enough respect and that grown-ups were always, you know, keeping us kids down.
Like a minority group.
I did. I thought of kids as being a minority group that was oppressed.
Like little miniature adults that just, you know, we don't know things because we haven't been taught them yet.
Right, exactly. And in some ways I do think that's true. I think that that grown-ups do really underestimate kids a lot of the time and just don't understand them and don't try to understand them. And I think because of that, some of my favorite books and movies, and I think a lot of kids' favorite books and movies were where grown-ups completely get schooled, you know, and get their butts kicked by super sassy, smart kids. And I don't know. I always like to think that if Julian hadn't met Greta and